Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the content agency and systems and operations that have allowed us to scale past $100,000 a month and how you can do the same if you watch this video and implement the frameworks I'm going to lay out today. Now, this is not going to be a fun video. In fact, it's going to be a very boring video, which is why most people never succeed as a content agency because they never want to take the time to build these things out. But I promise that if you watch this video, you're going to be in the 1 to 5% of content businesses that actually succeed because you will no longer be working in your business, but rather on your business and actually be able to focus on the stuff that matters. So let's start with management structure. And it's not too complicated, but this is where a lot of people mess up. Now, as you can see at the top right here, we have myself and Cam, who are the owners of the business. My main responsibility nowadays is ideation and scripting. Cam is mostly focused on client acquisition. Eventually, I want to outsource this role completely, ideation and scripting, and just be focused on client acquisitions through organic content and ads and cold outbound, and not have to worry about the ideation and scripting whatsoever. But I'm in the process of training someone on that right now. And these are really the two biggest levers for our business because ideation and scripting, that's what helps get our clients results. That's what moves the needle with the content we put out for clients. And client acquisition, well, you need more clients to stay in business and grow the business. Then we have Will, our head of content. He is an absolute beast and the machine that runs this business. Now, what Will is responsible for is overseeing all the deliverables that are going out for clients, like edits and thumbnail designs and the whole lot. So he is responsible for quality control, aka making sure that the edits and thumbnail designs that are going out for clients are up to par with our standard. He is also responsible for training them, giving them pointers here and there, hopping on calls with them, giving them feedback. And he's also responsible for social media management as well, which he is just uploading, publishing, doing all that stuff for clients as well. So we are not involved in that aspect. So he's essentially serving as quality control, a social media manager, and a head of strategy as well, all in one. So he's a very, very vital part of our business. And he allows us to work, again, on the business rather than always be in the business because he is really the manager of the entire operation. And so he's looking after the videography team, which is shooting for clients, the editing team, who edits for clients, and the thumbnail design, which you guessed it, designs for clients. And I'm going to show you how all of us work together in this onboarding and workflow section and what the entire process looks like from when we sign a client to actually going and creating videos for them. So it all starts when Cam and I sign a client, the invoice is paid, the agreement signed. So we'll onboard that client, we'll put them in a group chat with myself, Will, usually the videographer if there's a videographer involved, and the client. Now, after this, I'm going to take an onboarding call with the client for more info on them for ideas and scripts, right? I have to understand their offer because if I understand their offer, I can understand what kind of content is going to resonate with the people that are buying that offer, who their ideal customer is, again, more about them, just kind of details about their life, what their unique advantages are, and also just some miscellaneous details about, creators they like to model after in the niche. Maybe there's like, oh, this guy's doing really well in the niche, we should get some inspiration from him. And overall, just brainstorm about what the content is for the month ahead and the months ahead. Now, after this is done, I will script the videos. I'll send these scripts to the videographer and the client in that group chat, and I'll lock down a time with the client. If the videographer is shooting at a studio, I'll make sure to make a studio reservation through Peerspace or another one of those websites. Or if the videographer is going to the client's place, apartment, house, whatever, they'll make sure that address is confirmed and a time is confirmed as well. And they'll also have the opportunity to review the scripts so they know exactly what needs to be shot in that given time period. The videographer will go and shoot with the client, and the videographer will upload the thumbnails and the footage to Frame.io, which is the file sharing platform we use. It's kind of like Google Drive after the shoot is completed. After that's done, Will, our head of content, will assign the video to the editor and the thumbnail designer. The editor starts working on the video, the designer starts working on the video, and once they're done, they'll upload the first version for review in Frame.io. And after that, they will notify Will, they'll tag him, or they'll actually use the automations, which I'm going to show later in this video. We have a custom automation built out with Airtable, as well as a few other softwares that pretty much automates this video review process. And after this, will approve the video or leave revisions depending on if it needs changes. If it's approved, Will's going to upload the video to the client's YouTube studio and schedule out the video. If not, and there's notes. The editor is going to make sure, or the designer is going to make sure that V2 is worked on. They'll upload a new version. And then once it's approved, regardless of how many cycles of this happen, will upload the video to the client's YouTube studio or YouTube channel and schedule out the video. It's kind of like the simplified version of what the workflow looks like. I can show you what the automations look like in a bit, but I just want to give you a general overview of everything that happens from signing the client to actually getting out their first few videos, and the process pretty much just rinses and repeats from here. Every time we start a new billing cycle or every time the client needs new videos, it'll pretty much go back to here and start from the beginning. And I alluded to some of the softwares we use, but the main softwares we use, and you'll see how they all work together, are Slack, which is going to be for client communication, or internal communication with the team. You can also use it for client communication. We happen to use iMessage for client communication. Frame.io, which is the file sharing platform that you'll see very shortly. That's where we store client files and we can share review links with our team. There's Airtable, which is basically a automation software and allows you to basically create like a CRM for your clients. Pandadoc, which is what you use for the agreements in step 1 for service agreements. There's Loom, which is a screen recording software that's useful for many things, but mostly for giving editors feedback and giving them context on a project. And then Zapier, which you can use for some automations as well. Now, for the main part of trainings are really important because a lot of people want to go back and forth with editors, which I don't really understand why they would want to do that when you can simply make a training one time and you never have to tell people what to do again, right? So for instance, maybe an editor doesn't know how to color grade, right? Well, okay, instead of having one direct communication with that editor and teaching that editor how to color grade, why don't you turn that into a training? Because if that editor has a question about it, there's probably going to be other editors that have a question about it. So rather than having to waste your time communicating with new people every single time, teaching them how to color grade or like giving them instructions on how to do a certain LUT, why don't you just make a training on it and pin it somewhere where everyone can find it? Because now the video is answering your questions and you don't have to spend your time doing it when there's a pre-recorded piece of material that answers that. This can apply to anyone. This can be applied to a videographer, editor, designer, whatever the case may be. This can be me making a training for Will on how to upload videos to YouTube Studio. And so anytime, it's just I love the system we have, and I love the way that we've been able to run our business because it's just a system that's almost self-correcting and keeps getting better over time. Because anytime there's a question, I'll automatically tell Will, you got to make a training on that, right? So now we just have a bigger and bigger bank of training where more and more questions are being answered to the point where like there's very little that we don't have trainings on because every single time we've had a question, it's already been answered through a pre-recorded material, right? So every problem is really just an opportunity to create a training that will answer a future question. So now there's this huge bank of specific trainings on how to do things so that anytime a new editor is onboarded, instead of like having to go back and forth about questions, there's an entire bank of trainings or like it's almost like a troubleshooting guide that they can just go through anytime they have an issue, right? So then we have one channel for editor trainings, we have one channel for thumbnail trainings, and then they're going to pin the Loom videos inside of there. You can also do this in Frame.io if you want to make a frame folder with these trainings. But again, this is basically just a massive troubleshooting guide for editors and thumbnail designers, soon to be videographers when we make a videographer trainings one. But that hasn't been an issue so far. And this just makes your business more efficient because instead of wasting time hopping on these little calls and going back and forth with people individually, now it's like, hey, refer to the troubleshooting or refer to the guide. If there's nothing on there, then okay, no problem. We'll make a video on it. And then now it's a training for the future for future editors. So you want to create a system like this where it gets more efficient with time, not less efficient, because you're just pretty much, going through every nook and cranny to make sure that there are answers to the questions that your team has. Now moving on to internal communication. Now, every client, again, you're gonna see this visualized pretty soon. Every client has a designated internal Slack channel or pod, right? So when I say pod, the only people that are in that group chat are editors and designers related or working on that project, right? And this is really important because people will individually message the social media manager, they'll individually message the thumbnail designer, and they'll individually message the editor. But it's like, why would you not put them in one group chat, right? Because now it's like you've created 3 chains of communication when you can just send one message and all those people get tagged, right? It doesn't make sense. On that same note, on the flip side, if you have everyone in just like one big group chat, like editors chat, then there's going to be like editors that aren't even involved in there, and it's going to be a mass like thing of spam. There's no organization whatsoever. So it's really important to have a balance, which is why we just have client channels internally of like, hey, this is a channel designated to this client's videos, and so on, right? And so what this allows you to do is, rather than having these individual threads with editors and designers, everyone's just in one place. So everyone related to that project can collaborate. Like maybe the editor grabbed a frame from the video that could be good for a thumbnail, then they can drop it in the same group chat with the thumbnail designer, and ultimately just makes communication more efficient. And something else we do to keep things smooth, to keep things on the same page, is our head of content, Will, he hops on with the editors daily at 10 a.m. Eastern time for 15 to 30 minutes to check on project deadlines. We kind of make an expectation that people show up to this call. And with the people on that call, they basically give a status update. Hey, these are the videos I'm working on. If there's any delays, they'll let Will know, hey, I need another day or two in this video for X, Y, and Z reasons, right? And what this allows us to do is it pretty much allows us to make sure there's no loose ends, right? If there's somebody's behind on a video, they're encouraged to communicate it on there. If somebody is, missing assets for a client or B-roll, that's when they go and ask. So rather than having like last minute asks about B-roll or letting me know that a video is going to be late like 12 hours before, we can make sure we're ahead of the ball days in advance so that we can communicate to the client that either the video is going to be late or we need more assets for them to actually complete the video. Now, as I said earlier with the trainings, on a similar note here, Looms, in the same way that we use them for trainings, we also use them to explain a project or provide clarity around a style. So maybe like I want to explain what I'm looking for in a video and I just don't know how to put it into like text. I'll just go and record a 2-minute Loom video, like showing them some examples I like of some YouTube videos, like what aspects I think they should copy, what aspects I think they should leave out. And this just makes it very clear to the editor what I'm looking for, because if you don't provide context on your project, you can't be disappointed with a bad output, because it's all dependent on your inputs, right? And like I said, asking questions, it's encouraged. I don't want people brushing stuff under the rug because they feel like I'm going to get mad. I just need them to communicate if a video is going to be late. That's fine. If a late video it happens, like that's life. And clients are generally understanding of that if the work is high quality. I just need you to communicate it a few days in advance so I can make arrangements and let the client know instead of leaving them in the dark. And so that's really the communication system we use, is just having those client channels in Slack, which again, you're going to see very soon, so that anytime there's a hiccup or anything like that, we can be on the ball and we can forward that information for client. And then for client communication, this is just internal. What some people do is they just do like the same thing that they do for here, but instead of internal communication, they just do an external channel in Slack. So it's a Slack channel with the client, and then it'd be like the head of content, myself and Cam, and then the team is the internal one, so they're in a separate chat. But I'm just in an iMessage group chat with Cam, the client, and Will, and then the videographer if there is one for that particular client. And then the reason that's good is just like I just find it to be more efficient. People answer the phones quicker. Not as many people are active on Slack. So if the client ever wants to review a video or see a preview, we can just drop a frame.io review link, which is pretty easy for them to check out in the group chat. And we just, in here, again, it's pretty simple. We just proactively communicate video ETAs, what kind of results they're getting, coordinate shoots, et cetera, pretty much everything you'd expect from, basic client communication or, contacting your client. So this is what everything looks like at a glance, and I'm going to show you what this actually looks like in our own agency, how everything works step by step, and the automations we use. But this will give you a good overview, and the main notes I want you to take away from this is that you should have some kind of process, number one, for making your business more efficient with SOPs, where you're actually creating trainings on things so you don't need to repeat yourself. Number two, you should have some kind of way of organizing your workflow so that it's not just this thing where you're trying to figure out a new process every single time you onboard a new client. It should be the same universal process step by step. So every time you onboard a new client, that process looks almost identical, and you don't really have to do much critical thinking because it's basically just an assembly line. And the third thing is setting up good communication with your team and setting up a system for them to win. Like it doesn't have to be daily calls, but like a call a week, encouraging them to ask questions, having these designated channels, just setting them up for success. Because if you don't give them the proper inputs to succeed, if you don't give them any kind of system, they're going to fall apart because they're not going to find it easy to work for you. And you don't want them worrying about systems. You want them to worry about what they're good at, which is editing videos and being creative. So you need to go and set up this infrastructure for your team, because if you don't, your team members are going to leave. They're going to get frustrated. They're not going to want to work for you, and you're not going to maintain talent over a long period of time because no one's going to want to work in a messy system. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like for our content agency in this little next clip here. And then after this, I'm going to show you another example where I actually help one of my friends clean up his workflow and make things more efficient in his system. So let me show you the Slack layout that we have to keep things organized and clean. Now, this is the editor trainings channel I told you about. And this is where we store a lot of looms. Also, if you see right here under pins, this is where we can pin all these trainings as well. And this helps the editors at any given time very easily navigate exactly what they need to find. If you really wanted to go crazy, I mean, you can also search the channel as well. So let's just say I wanted to go to like voice clone. If that's what I needed help with as an editor, I can easily navigate that within the training section as well. So you can index things by search in Slack, which is a big advantage for using it for communication with your team. This is for general SOPs right here. This is thumbnail trainings, don't really have to go through that, but this is an example of the types of trainings you can make in here. And if you even wanted to go a step further and like link this back to frame.io, you can make like a frame.io folder with just trainings as well. That's another option. But I think this is easiest to navigate, just keep it all in one as well. The nice thing about Loom is you can also play it in the channel as well. So the nice thing about Loom is you can embed it, so it'll show it inside Slack, so you don't even have to navigate or click on a separate link, which is sweet. Now, this is the editor's channel, like the main editor's channel, where Will just drops his call links every day. This guy's super consistent, literally on the dot every single day. And this is where people can go and join these meetings as well. Now, everything else we have indexed by client channel. So I'm just going to go to mine, for example. And the only people in this channel are people that have or are actively working on my stuff. And the same is true for all these other channels as well for the rest of our clients. Now, this is pretty much the arrangement of our Slack. Below are the DMs. I'm not going to scroll down, but this is pretty much it. It's just organized by client channel. TCC just stands for the name of our agency, the clip curator, and then the client name. That just means just implies to us that it's an internal channel and that there's no client in here as well. This is an idea dump thing that me and my head of content use for basically just dropping videos that we like that we can maybe emulate for our clients, or just things that we can draw inspiration from as well. It's just a good way to keep track of stuff we're watching and looking at as far as trends go. But that's pretty much it as far as organization goes. Organized by client channel and whatnot. This is where we can see all active projects that are happening for our agency. And, communication happens between myself, Will, the editors and designers and whatnot. But I'm going to show you how the automation works actually for assigning videos. You're probably confused by this bot right here. So what you're about to see right here is a custom automation and client CRM, you could call it, that we had built for our agency. And I'm going to show you step by step how this works, how I assign videos to clients with literally less than a minute and a few clicks. So I'm just going to call this test project. This is a form that gets submitted. It's going to be a long form video. I'm going to say this is for myself. I'm going to give this to Will as the thumbnail designer just for the sake of the test. I'm going to call Will the thumbnail designer as well. I'm going to set myself as the team leader. I'm going to say this needs to be done by next Friday. And then it needs to be published by next Saturday. And I'm going to leave a few notes here as well. And go and submit this. Now, upon submitting this video, if we go into this Slack channel right here, you'll see this pop up very, very soon. This automation is like 100 steps long, 80 steps long, something like that. So it takes a second. As you can see, now I got tagged. I didn't even have to do anything. Now I can go assign this footage. I get a notification from Airtable, assign to editor. And now, as you can see, the people responsible for this project, Will, who I set as the editor and thumbnail designer, are going to get tagged here. Now, with the click of a button, Will is tagged and immediately hyperlink to the raw footage section in the frame.io folder, where he can go and access all the raw footage. As you can see, I have it separated by ready for review and raw footage. Raw footage is where the raw files that they're editing are added, and ready for review is where the completed videos or videos that are ready for revision are added, and I have that separated by long form and short form. And as he moves down the project, he's going to have the ability to confirm that project and say, hey, I'm now working on the videos, So if I just assign this to myself, for example, I'll show you an example of how I would do it here. If I just wanted to assign this to myself, and I can go through all the steps. If I assign it to myself on every step, now you can see what it looks like from Will's perspective, or whoever's editing the video. So this makes it extremely easy for the editors as well, because they're literally getting notified in Slack and hyperlinked the raw footage. So instead of like having this mess of trying to navigate the footage on their own, I mean, it's pretty much as straightforward as it can be. Right, so now I'm going to be doing it from the perspective of the assigner and the editor. So now you'll be able to see what it looks like from the editor or designer's end as well. Right, so now if I'm the editor and designer as well, I'm getting hyperlinked back to this, but I'm also getting a message from Airtable, hey, they're ready to edit, and I can go and confirm. So if I'm the editor and I want to let my team leader or manager know that I'm working on the video, now I just click on editing in progress, and now the team leader is going to know, or head of content is going to know, hey, the editor's working on the videos. Okay, sweet. So this is helpful for us, because when somebody does this and activates this, we know that they've seen the assignment, we know that they're working on their videos, etc., etc. And it streamlines the process and makes sure that no one's missing anything, because everyone is using this exact same system, and it's just one universal system that everyone abides by. And then a few hours later, if I'm the editor, I'm going to get a notification where it's like, hey, is this completed, or you're still working on it? Like, so it's going to give me two options. It's going to be like a green button, like, hey, has this video been uploaded for review, or are you still working on it? Is this video still in progress? And what that looks like from my end is that when somebody uploads that, I will get a notification that that video is completed. So when a completed video is done, this is what it's going to look like. Hey, editor has uploaded version 1 of the videos, review it as soon as possible. And that links me back to the ready for review section for that particular client. And then it's going to be the one at the top left, because Frame, if you sort it that way, it automatically sorts the newest videos to the top left, and everything's named as well. So it's not a problem either. And you can see right here in Frame that the video has been uploaded. And this is where Will can go and leave notes on the video itself. The great thing about Frame is that you can use exact timestamps as well. So rather than like having to go and make like a separate Google Doc with all the revisions or anything like that, or do it in message, you can literally scrub, and when you leave a comment, it'll leave stuff at that exact timestamp as well. So it's pretty sweet, and pretty much eliminates all that need for a back and forth. And then will get an option to hit a button from Airtable when those revisions come up, or if there are revisions, and he'll be able to click a button and it'll notify the editor, hey, revisions have marked in Frame, review the comments here. And again, it'll link them back to the ready for review, where they can go and make adjustments and whatnot. And then the editor can confirm when they're revising the videos, and then when revisions are completed, they can mark them, and then boom. Yeah, it's just an entire streamlined process that the automations can take care of. Bear in mind, you can do all this manually too, if you really wanted to, where it's just like a back and forth conversation of like, hey, it's done, here's the link, But the fact that you can just click a button and then everything gets sent, it just, it tags them, it hyperlinks the footage. Like, it really doesn't get much better than that. So it's just a completely robust system that eliminates any possibility of videos being late or, super delayed, because everyone knows what their assignment is. And on top of that, every time I assign a video with a due date, it syncs back to a view that the editors can see with a video calendar that they can all literally sync with their Google Calendar if they want with all the assigned videos and when they're due. So if I'm an editor and I want to see what is assigned to me at any given time, I have access to this big calendar that is synced to all the content forms that I submit. So if I want to see, my name is Will Marshall and I want to see what videos I have assigned to me, I go to editor, and then I put my name in, and then I see, okay, this is the only video I have assigned. It's due on this date. And oh, you can even see the notes in here too. So if under idea, if I want to put like a Loom link on like what I want for this video or what I expect of this video or some general notes about how I want this edited, I can do it there. And they have access to all of this as well. And if for some reason they lost the raw footage or the ready for review link, that they can access right there. At the click of a button as well. So there's no confusion whatsoever. And there's no confusion about deadlines because they can literally see it on their calendar. And if they wanted to, they can even sync this. There's another link they can use to sync this with their Google Calendar. So their video deadlines come up on Google Calendar as well. So again, it's a pretty foolproof system and prevents any major hiccups because, not only do they get the assignment in here, but they have a very clear video calendar anytime to refer to if they're unclear about a video due date as well. So again, that's how we run our agency. That's why we've been able to scale to the level that we've had, is because we have robust systems that prevent anything from falling through the cracks. Now, I am now going to show you guys a live consulting call where I break down for somebody how they can improve their systems and all the holes that they need to fix. So you guys can see what my consulting looks like when I help somebody else, when I help another content agency owner fix their systems, what that actually looks like in practice. So you guys get a taste, because we have a coaching program called Leverage Creator where we're helping content agencies not only get clients, not only learn how to close higher paying deals, but also how to run their business like a business, as I've showed you guys today, so that they can actually take themselves out of the business and focus on the high leverage things like signing deals and building the personal brand. Now, if that's interesting to you, there's going to be a link in the description where you can learn more. But hope you guys are enjoying so far, and I hope you get value out of this next recording I'm about to share with you. I figure we can start by walking through like the ecosystem and workflow of like your guys' agency, because I know Deep touched on that as something really important last time. So I'll pull the mirror board, and we can kind of just like visualize what it looks like, when you guys go and shoot with the clients, like those videos going out. And I want you to walk me through, and then we can go and see, where we can patch it up and make things more efficient. So let's just say a client, you're going to go shoot with a client in New York, just hypothetically speaking. What happens? Are you shooting it? Is there a videographer shooting it? Like, what does that process look like? How many days in advance do you know about this? How do you prepare? Walk me through the entire process.
Yeah, so if it's New York, we now have a videographer there, which is dope, whereas before we didn't. So it did have to be me. Now, I want to reduce my filming by like 80%, but if somebody pays like a Jamie premium to have me be the guy, I'm not opposed to that either. So, but let's just assume standard operating procedure. I'm outsourcing that to my New York videographer. Client pays, they get sent our onboarding form, which basically just contains like a bunch of questions on like the obvious things like passwords or I try to identify like content that they like. So for example, if there's creators that they really look up to or that they want to like model themselves after, or that are like really well known in their industry, like I like knowing that in advance. So I can go study them a little bit, learn a bit more about their industry and see what's working. Now this is where things get a bit annoying, is because like my assistant hasn't been the best at like sending me this onboarding form when it's done. So I need this to be automated. So
Okay.
this onboarding form needs to be automated to be when a client fills it out and it's submitted, that it like pings us in Slack.
Yep. Okay,
It's
that's
not
easy. That's
automated.
really low hanging fruit. There's no reason you
Cool.
should have a human doing this right here.
Cool.
And where is that done through? Typeform, I'm assuming?
Jotform.
Jotform. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put Jotform. Okay, that should be a really easy one to automate.
Then the next part of the process of onboarding is they schedule a call, and this is like automated in our email sequence. But sometimes they don't check their email, so we have to follow up with them in Slack. But that's just them being like silly, I think. Like, check your email. And so they schedule basically like a kickoff interview. So I interview them for like an hour.
Okay. Yep.
And basically my goal is like I want to learn as much as I can about them personally and professionally. It's like a mostly unstructured um like email and stuff. My 4 p.m. canceled, so we can go longer if you don't have anything at 4 p.m.,
Cool.
which is
My
48
my my
minutes.
only my only commitment is 3 p.m. Eastern time or 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So
Cool.
1.5 hours from now.
Yeah, that's the second time he's canceled this week, or the third time in a row, actually. New client. Mind you, he's in finance in Canada, and the Canadian Prime Minister just resigned this week, so I kind of get it. Um, so basically, this onboarding call, it's not a technical onboarding call. So I'm not
I'll
going
just
over
call it an
our
interview
systems.
call.
Yeah. I try to either loom it out or actually recorded like how to use Notion in like a professional camera at South Point. Like I have a nice little tutorial that I send them when they're in Slack on how to do revisions and use our Notion system. But I mean, once Airtable is set up, I'll make another version of that. But I take this interview call, and then it depends on who's filming and a few different variables. But like a lot of the times at our current stage, if they're in Miami, I'm filming. I'm doing almost all of our shoots in Miami, and I'm training and getting some guys to like offload that. But um, at the end of the call, I can usually schedule the next two items. One is our first strategy call. So I always like do strategy and stuff, which is like writing and coming up with their ideas. So the next thing after that interview call is like the first strategy call.
Okay, I see. So strategy call takes place after the interview call.
Yeah, because I use what I learned in that interview to like write their scripts and come up with their content plan. I can't do any writing until I learn more about them.
Makes sense. I'm the same way. Okay.
And then after that strategy call goes to shoot.
How many days after does this take place? Usually after the strategy
Um,
call?
it'll be the earliest will be the next day, the latest will be the next week. So let's say
Okay.
like one to
One
one
to
to
seven
seven
days, yeah.
days. Yeah. I always tell clients basically like, hey, like let's try to do it the strategy call and the shoot closer rather than further. Because I really value having like the ideas being fresh and like you remember like certain details and like there might be things that kind of get lost after like 7 days.
Okay.
Um, Jamie or just put Jamie slash videographer shoots with the client.
Okay.
It's mostly me, but like we still have plenty of shoots that are not me. And anything that
Sure.
is not in Miami is we have quite a few clients at this stage that are not in Miami, like it's not me. Um, then it goes videographer uploads content to Google Drive. Now, this is where things get interesting. So, um, it's not the most scalable, it's not the most efficient, but I really do like care about like the quality of edits. And like I'm not the type of person that's afraid to outsource and delegate, but what I will say is I very much view my role, especially in 2025, as like I may not be the person with the guitar or the saxophone, but I'm the orchestra or the orchestrator or the
Mhm.
conductor. Like I am putting the symphony together. And so like what I've been doing is once the content is uploaded, whether it's I film or somebody else films, I go in as like the key strategist and make notes to pass off to the editor in Notion.
Okay.
And
Why
I'm
do
gonna
your when you say notes, can you be more specific? Like, if
let
you
me
can give me an
let me show
example,
you.
it'd be really helpful. Okay.
So I'll actually let you peek into our Notion system, what we're using right now a little bit. Um, Now this example is a little extreme because I wanted to smash it out of the park for this guy when we signed him, and we did. We got like 23,000 followers in month one. Um, give me 1 second while I share my screen. So I just sent a request to share my screen.
Okay. I think 1 sec. There you go.
Okay. So this is, you can see, where did the content link go? How did that get deleted? Usually I don't know, someone fucked that up. But right here, because this is a strategy document, there is no content link. So this is like the scripts that I do. And so I basically did this for the entire shoot. We got like 20 some videos. So you can see this video in particular, I wrote it and I had a very specific vision as to how I wanted this video to be edited and filmed. So I told the videographer that like for every single one of these lines, you're gonna position Taylor in a different part of his backyard. He lives in this like beautiful beach house in Hawaii. He's this like multimillionaire, makes a bunch of content about money. Then if you come here to the shoot, you could see this is like, these are the notes that I did for each video. So I linked the content here, which you can see Sony A7S III. This is all the footage from the shoot. And so video one had like a bunch of different files. And so I would go into detail, like this is the hook. I want you to edit in a similar style to this video if you can. Use the same song, Dark Red by Steve Lacy, and aspect ratio. This is the next clip. Only use the audio from this, and then these 2 shots as B-roll. Like literally like it's like I'm editing this without opening Premiere.
And that's the problem. That's the problem right there. The editor should be able to make these creative choices on their own.
I agree. I'm showing you the most extreme example because this
No,
was
no,
the
I'm just
first
making
video
this to
ever.
myself for sure, for sure.
This was the first video ever we launched for this client. So I put like extra special time and attention into it.
Fair.
It got 500,000 views. So like, and I just knew that like he could be a long-term partner. At the time, he was our highest paying client, our roster. So I'm just showing you the most extreme example of what these notes look like.
Okay.
So you can see I kind of go even not frame by frame. It's not ideal because I think frame would be better for this. But you could see like I'm time stamping these things. Like I'm giving them songs to use. Yeah, like I mean these ones are pretty straightforward, like those notes. But that's kind of like a little peek into what that process looks like. So I would pass along the notes to the editor to make sure that they look great. But yeah, if you have more talented editors, they can make those creative decisions, which would free up my time.
100%. Yeah, so that's something in the hiring process as well that needs to be ironed out to find people that can make those judgments. I totally understand where you're coming from as far as giving context, because I'm all about giving context. However, I think there's a few things you can do to make it more efficient. This should be frame. This should be frame right here.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna leave notes as I think things can be improved. This should be framed because instead of having for them to go back and forth between Notion and this, what you can do instead is on the footage that gets uploaded, you go to here.
And I leave the notes in frame.
Yes, exactly, because you can leave it on exact files. So if
and
I want
on
to
the
leave
exact second.
Correct, exactly. So once the stuff is named, I don't even have to leave it on the script or Notion. I can literally leave it second by second. So like for this part, maybe I want to leave a note about animate this or like use this, maybe use screenshots of like income for the hook. So we have social proof and I can leave it on the exact timestamps in the video. So instead of that guy having to go back and forth between the two, they can literally click on the file and they know exactly what to do. Same thing with the ads,
now,
right?
Question, because I want to show you one thing. Let me find an example here for a second. So like sometimes I'll give my editors like a LUT that I want them to use, or like I give them notes in Notion that apply like at the top instead of like going C1009 blah blah blah, where I use the file. I give like a bunch of notes on what I want done to every video. So it's like, please use this LUT. Please like keep everything under 90 seconds, or like the universal like edits that I want across the board. Think of it like the adjustment layer. for all videos? Like, what would you do and frame for that?
Okay, easy. So it's universal and applies to everything. What you need to do is create a trainings video or a trainings channel in Slack. So if you guys are not using Slack already, I'm not sure what that system
Yeah,
looks
we
like, but
have Slack.
we have dedicated channels specifically for thumbnail trainings and editor trainings. And so it's like default LUTs. There's like LUTs,
Cool.
how to do the day in the life video, color correcting, how to fix skin tones, how to make a voice clone for video editing. You need to have a mass channel, and like this should be part of your onboarding process. Who's calling me right now? Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just my headphones like disconnected for a second. But as far as the um notes go, like you can still see this.
Yep.
If you can set up like a I don't know why music is playing. My music app just opened. My headphones are going crazy right now.
All good.
But the point of this channel right here is to make a set of universal trainings for your team. So like you just mentioned with the like the color correcting or LUTs, you can have like a LUT pack or something like that, or like a
Cool.
LUT training. And it's just like, hey, if you ever have a question about anything related to editing or how to do something, go to this channel, and it acts like a Jamie Light, and it can just answer those questions rather than you having to do it manually. Just make a bunch of
Yeah, and I
pre-recorded
might
stuff
just
and have
make
a
like
training channel.
a Google Doc that has all the assets in it too that they need.
Assets assets for all people, you mean? For
Yeah,
all
like
clients?
I use like for example, I have a preferred LUT that I want using across every single client we ever work with because I want it to be like the one trademark that like you can identify that it's us if you have a clear eye. Maybe that's a silly thing, but I like it, and I really
Okay,
like the
cool. If
look
that's
too.
your preference, that should be something in editor's trainings for sure.
Yeah,
And then you can just pin the messages as well. So if anyone like loses something, like it's all right here.
cool.
And what's
But
great about this,
there's
Jamie? It's
what I will say
self-correcting.
though is like this is great for things that are for every video of all time, but like some videos, like for example, let's say I finish a shoot or videographer finishes the shoot and I realize, fuck, like they're a little overexposed, like each video. So that's only related to that shoot. It's not related to every piece of content we ever produce ever, right? It's like localized to this newest batch.
What the fact that the videographer shot it overexposed?
Yes. So I
Was
want
that
to
a
pass to
situation
the
that could
editor.
is that a situation that could potentially happen again?
Potentially. I mean, when you're
Then you need
outsourcing, like,
training on it.
yeah.
Right? So like a lot of people think that these are isolated incidents when they're really not, right? They may
Mm,
be infrequent, but there will be a time and place. So when that does happen, it's like let me
mm,
make a training on that. So if it does happen again, which is inevitable if we're training new
cool.
videographers, let's make a training on it. Right. And it's like hard to start thinking that way because you don't think it's gonna happen again. Like, oh, this is an isolated incident. I've thought that so
Mm,
many times, but the truth is it's never really an isolated incident.
mm-hmm. They're just
For
not frequent.
example, for example, one of our clients sent us a video that was kind of messed up, and they did something um, with the footage, so where they like shot it wrong. It was on like a DJI or something like that,
Like an
and
Osmo.
yeah, like an Osmo, for example, and we had to assign it to a certain editor that had a certain software because something about like it was like kept going in and out of focus, and so apparently like we're going to use a software to fix it, but that's going to become a training in real soon, just in the event that that happens again.
Mm,
It most likely won't because we shoot with most of our clients, but you never know when we're going to need that.
cool. Yeah, no, I like this reframe.
So it's almost like an entire troubleshooting chat for editors as much as it is a training chat as well. Or like, what if the
Mm.
audio has like a ringing in the background? Like, okay, here's a training on how to use a software v.io to clean that up if that happens.
So, quick question. We have different editors that use different softwares. Do you guys make sure that all your editors are, let's say, on Premiere? Do you care about what software they use?
It hasn't really been an issue so far. Some of our guys are on DaVinci, some guys are on Premiere.
Okay,
My guy's encouraging them to try DaVinci because he really likes it, but like we don't require them to use a certain platform.
cool. Because I was just thinking on like the training side, um, like I don't use Final Cut, I never have. So, but then again, my Final Cut editor is really smart. I could get him to make training videos too.
Exactly. So it's like Will's making trainings, but also at some point we're gonna have some of the editors start making trainings as well. So that'll be helpful too. But again, when you think of this as like a troubleshooting channel just as much as a training channel, that's when
Mhm.
your perspective really starts to change. Like, give me another example of something that happens at a shoot or like with the footage that's like, fuck, how are we gonna fix this? But you end up finding a fix, but you feel like it was an isolated incident.
Um, Let me think. I mean, it happens like most of the time, but like anytime I use the DJI mics, and if they're plugged into the camera, there's always like this slight background, like not a hiss, but it's like a sound that's like kind of humming in the back. But if I record directly into the mic using the 32-bit audio, like there's none of that. So I basically taught the editors, and if you guys have a better solution, let me know. But I'm like, hey, just clean it up in Adobe Podcast, do it between like usually anywhere between like 35 to like 60%, and then bring it back into Premiere and raise the gain by like 4 to 8 decibels.
Okay, great. That's a process right there. So you could either do it in editor trainings, or what we've also done too is we have a folder. So it's like just trainings, and you can do this for everything. So you
Cool.
have one, like you have videographer training. So maybe it's something for the videographer, like, hey, don't do the audio like this, do it like this. You can do an editor training, and you can do like a thumbnail designer training. If that's something you guys end up offering.
Well, us would be social media management.
Yes, exactly. So then it's like, oh, if I'm having issues, I don't know an answer to something. Instead of asking Jamie, let me see if it's in the trainings first. Boom.
I
And
like
if there's
this.
not one, then you create one, and now longer.
Yeah,
It's just like constant feedback loop, flywheel of getting better and better trainings.
I like this. Cool.
Oh wait, I'm not
Uh,
showing you frame, but I think I was sharing my
Slack.
Slack. But yeah, we also have one in frame as well. So again, it's the
Cool.
same exact principle. You have different folders for different stuff.
And just make them in Loom.
You can do them in Loom. You can then upload to the frame. So like we make it
Cool.
impossible for them to miss. So we have a Slack channel for the different ones, and then we have a frame channel as well, or frame,
Sweet.
folder.
Sweet. Let's
So
go back to
that
that.
would, in my opinion, that makes an exponential difference. And also now you're realizing it's never really an isolated incident.
100%. I appreciate that that reframe, pun intended, because yeah, I feel like training is something we could do a lot better of a job on. Because like so much of our business has been like really deep sells me. Like that's actually our business is
Right.
like getting access to me. And then I usually get like so like spread thin. Um, because I'm doing all the scripting, most of the filming. I'm still doing the fucking so many different things. So this will be huge. But videographer uploads content to G Drive. So the notes is a separate like part of the process. So I would delete the with notes. Um, so
Jamie leaves notes. Yeah.
yes with basic put with basic notes because um like they might leave like certain things to the editor like hey it was a little bit windy and I didn't have a wind sock
Okay.
on. You might
Okay.
have to like literally like basic notes that they need to
Yeah,
communicate
my guys do
in
that
the
too.
handoff.
It'll be like a voice note or something for sure.
Um, so then or like the highlights were really blown out, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Then I leave detailed notes.
You can say for editor.
Yeah.
And then how do you assign those videos? How do you notify the editor that the footage is ready for editing?
So let me show you. So if I go into here, click on the shoot from September 28th, you'll see I tag Charles, new client. This is Taylor, and I link the footage right here from Google Drive. And then boom, if I click on this one, same thing. I just tag him in Notion. He gets a little notification. And then usually what I do is like I send him a message in Slack. Oh, was I not sharing?
Oh, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, no,
Okay,
you're good.
cool. So you can see I tag Charles right here, new client. This is Taylor. Then here at Charles, another shoot for Taylor, and then I kind of go through each video. Um, so then I also like kind of let them know, like let me show you. I did this morning. Where is here. So I tagged Deep's brother, Sahil. I have a new shoot in Notion. We have 2 videos that are time sensitive. So just reminding him, hey, go check Notion. There's stuff for you. But I'm assuming that could probably be automated with Airtable.
Yeah, because that's what it allows you to do. It's like, hey, these videos are ready for editing and revisions, and then it's just hyperlinked to the frame folder.
Yeah. So that's been our process so far. So it's like, it's not the worst, but it definitely could be a lot better.
Hmm. Yeah. With the assigning, yeah, that's definitely something that can be improved. Okay, and then like how long does it usually take the editor to see that the videos have been assigned?
What do you mean? Like,
Like,
actually that I don't know because I don't get notified if they've seen the message.
okay, so the nice thing about Airtable is they can basically like confirm like, hey, this person's not working on these videos, and they'll like tag you again that they're working on it.
Cool. That's really good because that is one thing that's been a bit annoying about our system is like once I make that handoff. Um, also Deep just texted me. He has an impromptu sales meeting with Justin Waller right now. So he's, I guess, I don't know if you know that
Wow, he
guy.
lives at Flamingo, doesn't he? I've seen him before in that parking garage.
No, he lives in like Edgewater, or I think it's Edgewater, Wynwood, that kind of area.
Damn.
Yeah. He said
But yeah,
impromptu sales meeting with Justin Waller. I was like, okay,
understandable.
fair,
But
take
with
it.
the content form that you guys are gonna see, what you can do is this basically allows you to like kill two birds with one stone. So
Mm,
rather than like having to leave the notes on the footage, you could just leave it on the individual videos. You know what I mean? So if I want to do like short form, for example, um, you can just do like one clip if you wanted to assign these individually, like you have, and then I could just do the notes
mm,
on them.
cool.
Or you can do it in mass if you wanted to say, hey, I need 10 clips by this date, and then leave the notes individually. This is just like the notification that they're ready, basically ready to be edited. You
Cool.
follow? So there's like a few ways
Yep.
you could do it based on your preferences.
Sweet.
Okay, let's go
Um,
back to the
mirror
board.
board.
Okay. Yeah. And then so editor begins projects.
Yeah.
And
Editor.
then as far as like allowing your clients leeway with like revisions, like how does I guess we're about to get into that. Like editor uploads. I'm assuming this is to Google Drive.
Editor uploads videos V1 to Google Drive. Revisions is like where I've been really stuck. Um, I think I think part of it is like we haven't charged enough for us to have the margins for me to like justify having somebody on our team like be a dedicated like client success manager. Um, so we've been like basically like the whole team like spreads that role like a little bit amongst each of us, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So like the social media manager will like handle anything about posting and like do all of that and manage the client on that side of things. The editor will work with the client on like edits and revisions. Um, Ideally, I would like to have somebody that isn't me, that can kind of go in and like um, pass through videos and see how they're doing, like before we send them to the client. And I do that sometimes, but it's just like it's impossible for me to do that for everyone on our roster. Um, if that makes sense. And then some editors like,
Like quality checking basically.
yeah, like QA. And so like some editors, like Deep's brother, there's very rarely revisions, or if there are, they're like minor.
Yeah.
Whereas our other editor, Charles, I actually think Charles is more talented editor, but he's Filipino, and so he'll make like
Mm,
grammatical errors.
yeah, that's tough.
And so like every single video of his needs to be checked for grammatical mistakes, and like I just don't have the time to do that, and so not very often, but it does happen where like some clients are like, I'm sick of seeing these like spelling mistakes, like don't even send me these, like, and I'm like, fuck, I totally agree, but at the same time, like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's just like me as a business owner, like that activity is just like I'm
Right, but you
spread
also have to take
so thin,
responsibility
like
for it, unfortunately, because it is your team.
I know. I know.
So
Well,
again, I think
I
that's
do
a
take
that is
responsibility
definitely
for it.
no, and for sure. No, I'm just saying like it's just I'm just like kind of thinking out loud here. Like kind of sucks because like you're
Yeah.
forced to take responsibility. You know what I mean? Even though it's not your fault. Um,
Hmm.
that the biggest thing right there, bro. It's a hiring. That's a hiring constraint. It feels like more so than it is a systems thing. Because if at least if they got it like most of the way there, then the client's feedback would not so much be correcting mistakes, but maybe like importing preferences or like communicating
Yeah.
preferences. To which that could be like then just the standard going forward, and then it's a much smoother process.
Yeah. Um, but that's also like it happens like 5% of the time, maybe 10, but like
Okay.
it's like a minor thing. Um, then yeah, so they upload it to G Drive and then client reviews content.
Okay. Second.
I will say I'm much more active in the QA process for new clients.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because like you want to make sure, okay, the style looks good. Totally
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah, I'm the same way.
But
Um,
once their content's like been going up for months, I'm like, yeah, like their style is kind of established
established, right?
and all that kind of stuff.
And how do they leave notes on the videos? Do they send it over to Slack?
Yeah, so no, it's over Notion. So let me show
Okay,
you.
I understand.
Um, I'll show you real quick. So Taylor's a bad example because he didn't want to, like, he was very easy and just like, he's like, yeah, just post them. He's like, I don't give a fuck about spelling errors. And I was like, thank you. Um, but let me find one who does like revisions. Uh, Penny likes some revisions. Let me go back to, let's see this, for example. So we also were putting our captions in here. You can see Bernardo's a social media manager. Some of Kenny's videos, like at 41 seconds when step three comes up, change text to. So that's where that goes. Let me find ones because I still do a decent amount of QA. Um, you can see this one. I went fucking ballistic on this editor. But I'd much rather replace this than Frame.
This needs to be put to. This is going to change your life. Literally, just
Yeah,
translating this over to Frame. This changes a lot.
yeah. But you can see I'm like timestamp. I'm like going Google Drive, looking at here, like switching back and forth. It's just a mess.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, especially because Google Drive will like lag sometimes. Like, yeah, you need this in Frame,
Yeah. But yeah, this is like a perfect example of like what IQA looks like.
bro.
I go,
Adding the Hawk to a sound effect. Oh my god.
yeah, because like he made a joke about like not investing in the Hawk Tua meme coin, and I was like, you gotta add the sound effect, bro.
Facts.
Like, he's gonna say that, like, fucking. Especially
One
this is like
one
the first video for a client. Like, I will. This is exactly what I mean when I say like a
You're
new
basically
client.
editing the video too.
Yeah, I'm just not hopping into Premiere.
This is so like that attitude is not bad of like wanting shit done correctly. What I will say though is like number one is like with all these revisions, you may as well be editing it. Two, if you're having to make these many revisions, it's one thing if it's the first video and like maybe they just aren't established with the style yet. That's one thing. But if you're doing this, you find yourself doing this often, it's an editor and talent problem where
Oh, I
you're
got
just
rid of
like,
this editor for this client.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
like when I saw that, I wrote this, and then I found my other guy, Charles, and I was like, yo, Charles, send me. I was like, here's a video. Send me what you're gonna make. I gave him no notes, and I was like, this is so fucking good. And so yeah, this guy Tarun, not my guy. Uh, but I still wanted to do this and just see how it came out, you know? Um,
No, for sure. No, I agree. Yeah,
Especially this
obviously,
is post numero uno for a client. So
totally.
not typical that I'm doing this. This is rare, but again, showing you the more extreme examples of our process.
For sure. Yeah. And it's like like I think one thing that if you're gonna scale, it's like number one, better hires, and number two, trusting those hires when you find somebody good. And like even though it may not be exactly the way you do it, you know that if you control the script, like for the most part, not that the editing doesn't matter, but if somebody can get like 80% of the way there,
Yeah.
anything past that is diminishing returns for you to go and like leave notes like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also find like when I'm working with new editors, usually I'm more hands-on at the beginning, and after
For
like
sure.
1 month where I hammer them with notes like that, they're fucking sick. Like they're really good. So I want them to understand like why I think the way that I do. Because once you can teach them the why, the how, and the what kind of gets sorted. Like, yeah, like when somebody mentions a meme, import the meme. Like, you know. Um, but yeah, let's open up the mirror.
Bet. Let's do it. Client reviews and G Drive leaves. So they're leaving the notes on Notion?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And
Again,
then maybe put
that
in
would be
brackets like Jamie QAs at the beginning.
okay. And then what does it look like from here? How long does it usually take your editor to
Um,
make revisions?
usually within like a day. It depends on how severe the revisions are. Um, but usually it's like within 1 to 2 days.
And do you ever find this is delaying the posting process?
It delays launch for sure. But once we like, cause I have a rule where like I won't launch an account until we have 7 to 10 days of content ahead of
Got it.
schedule.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to post off the bat. I see you get like ahead.
Yeah. So I always build up a backlog. Once we get like once we have 7 to 10 videos, if they're daily, for example, 7 to 10 videos approved, we launch, and then it doesn't really affect the posting schedule that much. That's why I create that buffer. I'd say 7 to 10 days because different clients pay for different.
Yep, makes
Yeah,
sense. Frequencies.
yeah. So we were for, I think we told you this, but we were by default doing daily content for like the first like 3 years of business, and then last year we actually pivoted it around like August to 15 is our now standard. And we basically charge the same price as we were for 30, but just at like half the deliverables.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
posting begins. What does it look like after that?
so, well, it's 7 days ahead of approvals. Posting, there's like a process with the social media manager as well. So they have to prep captions, and some clients want them to prep multiple days in advance. Some don't really care. That's like a preferential difference. Um,
Why do you give them that preference?
um, just to keep them happy, I guess.
Do captions really impact the performance on a video?
No, but they can for sensitive industries. So, for example, they can in 2 ways. Number one is getting an account banned by using like certain hashtags. I've had, like, for example, when we launched Lupo, one of our social media managers used a very common Instagram hashtag that is banned on TikTok, and he got completely shadow banned on TikTok, and we actually had to start a new account. She used
Okay.
hashtag yacht porn. Um, so like those sort of things can matter, and especially if I'm working in medical or legal, um, those clients like have to be very careful of what they say. Um, and if they're outsourcing the captions to us, it gets a little bit tricky because like they have to be absolutely 100% correct when you're talking about legal or medical things. So those are the
Okay,
two
so
cases.
they need to like review the captions as well. So is this like a separate step?
If they're medical or legal, they usually review captions, unless they've been with us for a long time. Then they tend to like let go of that a little bit more, but legal in particular, they tend to be very strict.
You found this delays the posting process at all?
Um, for the legal client, we had 100%.
What do you still work
It's
with?
a
Like, why don't you just like not work with
we
legal
don't work
clients
with
then if you do?
we don't work with that client anymore. Um, but the LTV of a legal client is really fucking high.
Okay, it's good.
Um,
That's a good answer then.
and so I know that like they can justify our spend because their client value is incredible. You know,
Mhm.
we're closing in on working with the lawyer that actually got me in deep visas. And I've already sent him like 12 referrals. So I know that like his average customer is like at least 10 grand. And they're probably gonna need some ongoing services too. Um, so if he gets like one client on our service a month, he's doing really well for himself. And then
Okay,
medical, we have incredible case studies for.
so that's a good answer then. Okay, I just wanted to make sure if those clients were even worth your while, but I guess like if that's the case, I have a really good solution, Jamie. It's going to be a similar answer to what I gave you before.
Training.
Um, yep. Specifically, so instead of shoot, let me try this again. Instead of editor trainings, it's social media. You could literally just call it SMM,
Yeah, some
SMM
SMM trainings.
trainings.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have one specific to like banned keywords, and that like links back to Google Doc. You could have one specifically on posting. You have a training specifically with a folder within the SMM trainings on medical and legal, like do's and don'ts for clients,
Mm,
what's not worked past. You tell the legal yacht story, like avoid these kind of things, avoid anything with like porn, drugs, or killing, like da da da.
yeah.
Because within that, you can kind of create some general principles that they'll be able to abide by, and that should prevent most of the issues.
Beautiful.
And
I'm
then
gonna get
this
my
will
assistant to create all these channels tonight.
And this, what this will also do, not only will like it prevent big goof ups like that, is it's also going to make the revision process easier for the client when they're quality checking captions. Because like again, it's going to be so dialed that maybe they'll have like one thing they want to change with the verbiage, but it won't be anything critical.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be huge because the legal ones in particular, they have to be like even just saying a sentence in the wrong way could get you liable for certain things. It's just yeah, it was just a bit
Well,
frustrating.
well, what you can do is you can take like all the feedback, you can copy and paste like all the feedback from the lawyer, or from your legal client, like all the feedback that they've given, and then tell ChatGPT or Claude like, hey, based on this, can you create a set of guidelines for our social media manager
Yeah,
of
just make
do's
it
and
compliant.
don'ts? Yep.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, that's what I would do for the social media manager for that step, as far as like automating or like kind of creating SOPs around that.
Then basically, yeah, so the social media manager preps captions. Most of our clients don't care that much about the captions, like, but
Okay.
some do. Um, this is what I'm curious about you. So like I'm always trying to drive this like delicate balance of, maintaining Frame as the expert that they're hiring. Um, like they're hiring me for my expertise and stuff. But like often enough, you just get these clients that like I'm telling them to do things and they're just like absolutely not. And maybe that's like the clients that we're signing. Um, but don't know if you've had any of like that experience and uh what to do in those situations where I'm like, hey, like I had to have a call with this guy today and he was doing like I did not write these for him. He was like convinced he needed 25-second calls to actions. And I was like, Fred, like you can't do that. And he's like a 75-year-old man. And I'm like trying gently to communicate that like we are not equivalent minds in this field.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, it's just like a weird situation because like, sometimes I'm sure you've seen you're playing with these like age dynamics, but like the older
Mhm.
people just like feel like they know so much more. But like we really know our field and industry. So like I'm firm and I put my foot down. I I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
No, I'm hearing you. What's funny is like I've actually had the opposite experience where like my oldest clients are actually like easiest where they just listen and do exactly what we say.
mm,
Part of that is precedent and the experience you go into. Or like I'm sorry, the frame you kind of enter the relationship with when you onboard the client. Part of it is like client selection, but a big part is also just like actually like sometimes you got to be a little bit of a dick and just be like, look, dude, like you hired us for an expertise. If you want to go do your content on your own, like don't be like if you want to go do your content on your own, do it yourself.
Yeah.
But more so, like you don't have to act like that. But more so, like hey, like I'm just kind of curious. Like when you brought us on, like what did you like? Did you like what drove you to work with us? And they're like, well, and then you almost kind of use this as ammo against them. Well, you guys seem like you know what you're doing. Okay, great. Well, like, dude, all I ask, like, you trust our judgment on this. Like, we know what we're doing. If you step into this, I can't guarantee that we're going to be able to get you the results you were looking for when you enter this relationship, but we're still going to be held liable. So we ask that we control the variables so we can be held to the result that, we can be held to the result that we kind of like not promised you, but like set
Are involved
at
in, yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so when you frame it like that, I think that'll kind of put them in check. Right. And sometimes if they really get super extreme, it's like, dude, listen, like this is how this relationship is gonna work. I don't really know if like there was a misunderstanding or something like that. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I don't know if you misunderstood, what this relationship looked like, but Deep and I have like, as you know, like ton of experience doing this. Like the whole point of this is for us to basically take over the strategy so that we get you the best possible results because we have a ton of data and ton of experience doing that. If you feel differently, you want to do this on your own, we can part ways and almost go to that point. But like I'm still under the impression that you want to do this, and I want to give you the benefit of the doubt here and just set those expectations. That's how I would handle it.
Beautiful. Notes taken. So after the SMM preps captions, then they are distributed across social media channels. So we always post across the big four: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And then some clients want other platforms as well. But I tell them pretty clearly, like, hey, we don't have a single case study from LinkedIn, don't have a single case study from X, and don't have a single case study from like Blue Sky or Rumble, like Pinterest. So like I make it very clear, like we can post it there. Just like don't expect that to like be a game changer.
Well, if it's not getting your client results and it's like operationally hard for your team, why are you still offering it?
It's not that operationally hard. It's just an
Well, it's
extra
just like
step
it
for the
is,
social media manager.
but it's like that's taking up their time, right? And that's like over like 12 clients, for them posting them on LinkedIn or Blue Sky or whatever. It's like that's probably taking away the bandwidth that they could use on one more client, right? So it's like these small
Yeah.
things that add up.
Yeah, but our social media management stuff, like we have other problems with that role, but them being too busy is not one of them.
Okay.
Um,
I
so
just I just think it's just kind of like a waste to like post on those
I
platforms
I
personally. Like
agree.
it's not even so much that it's like a time thing. It's just like why? Like there's just like random, you know what I mean? It's just like doing stuff for the sake of doing it. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, usually what I say is like Blue Sky, for example, is like, hey, I'll try. I don't think this is gonna work, but I've never used this platform, so maybe I'm wrong. So I'm
Yeah.
always willing to like give it a test, but yeah, I just don't think there's even enough people there.
Okay, so this is the workflow. Anything else I should know? Like what happens after this? Is there anything that happens after this that happens or
Then the cycle just kind of repeats. And like one thing I would like to do, and a lot of it has come from because of like my lack of bandwidth. I would love to have some sort of like reporting. Um, that's why I was like asking you guys about like if you use any social media analytics tools. One of our clients, Jackson, like he set himself up with it, and I really like what he's using. I have full access to it. It's on Metricool, but it's not something that we offer to clients. And I feel like it would like improve the quality of our service. And it's something I'd be very interested in doing and as like even just like a monthly loom given all their data. But we just have a few too many clients and it's just like it doesn't make sense for my time at the moment.
yeah, you're just saying as far as reporting results back to clients
Yeah.
or like a monthly summary or what?
Yeah,
I
something
mean,
along those
are the
lines,
clients
especially because like they like to me, I'm also like you should already know this if you're in organic. Like I feel like a lot of the results are pretty obvious. You can just check your Instagram dashboard.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I think that's the tough thing about, working with people that are less familiar with socials is like you almost have to communicate like why the results are good, which is like kind of a crazy concept in our world. But that is part of the process of working with like less sophisticated clients.
I had to do that today. We had a client same guy, this old guy. He's like, "What can I do to get more followers?" I was like, "Fred, you're averaging 250 followers per post on Instagram. Like that's really good. That's real. And I actually don't want to change things. I want to keep doing what we're doing."
Yeah, that's the proper response right there. You really have to put it into perspective for people sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when you have clients in very like small niches too, or like very specific pockets. I'm like, well, if you really want to play that game, it's not fair to do apples and oranges of, comparing it to like SMMA when you're selling like legal services to people in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So let's compare it to other people in a similar niche, and you'll actually see very soon that like you're actually getting pretty comparable views, and that the strategy is working.
Yeah,
You
like
really
I
have to like
asked
explain you really
I
have to
explained
explain
it to
like the concept
Lupo.
of tan and these principles and all that stuff because it's definitely not like automatically known.
Yeah, I explained it to Lupo the other day. I was like, "Listen, you're never gonna have a huge audience because you're a
Mm.
local business. Like you're never gonna have 100,000 followers because you are in Sunny Isles and you only want customers in Sunny Isles or like around there." And he's like, "Oh, that makes sense." Um, but yeah, I think Frame hopping in here is gonna make a huge difference because like the Notion stuff, it's worked. The nice thing about Notion at least is like the visual calendar, everything else, and the scripting is okay. But um, what do you think for scripting and like writing I should use? Should I just do Google Drive, like a Google Doc, or
Well, you can upload docs to Frame, which is a great thing. Like you can
cool?
just export it as like a PDF, upload it to Frame because it accepts PDF
Cool.
files as well.
So I think I'll just use Google Docs then, if that's the case.
Hmm.
Um, and then so Airtable would really be a part of the editing process and like yeah,
That's like for
assigning.
like assigning, yeah, more so for assigning and notifying. That'll be like big.
Cool.
And then this is really easy, bro. This is just like setting up a Zap with Jotform. So it'll go like Jotform, send data to. So you basically set up like a Zap. So I'll show you what that would look like on here. Hopefully I'm signed in. I think it's just with my Google. This is such low hanging fruit, but this will be like, dude, like it's crazy that you don't have like that you have an assistant manually sending you like onboarding data.
I know.
All it takes is I'm gonna start a new Zap. Oh, I hate AI sometimes, bro. Like what is this? I guess it would be helpful if I was a noob and didn't know anything. I'm not an expert for sure. So it would literally just be go to app. Jotform should be on here. I don't have a Jotform account, but this is what it would look like. And you would set the event of new submission, and then it's literally sending it to Slack, and then um, send message should be send private channel message,
Cool.
or just even send channel message, and then it would just be that, and then you would just decide what it sent, what kind of um, message it sends. So you would just make like a channel titled like I'll just show you my Slack for an example here. All you would do is you would go into your Slack, and what you can do is simply, let me share my screen. You would simply set up a channel. So when you connect your Slack account, it can read different channels and you can tell them to send them to this specific one. You would just have a channel titled like onboarding submissions or something like that. And then
Cool.
like literally as soon as it gets submitted, it'll get sent here. And then I think you can also customize within Zapier like what gets sent here as well. So it's like if you just wanted their email, for example, for whatever reason, you could do that. If you just wanted like these responses, you could just do that. Zapier will let you do that.
I am messaging my assistant right now to do that. Perfect. Just sent that to her. So on my side, what do you think would be the most important things that I can do um, between now and like the next couple days?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Biggest action items, get that Zap set up from your assistant.
Yeah.
Move all your stuff over to Frame, migrate all your stuff over to Frame immediately, and start looking into Airtable. Airtable will probably be the last cherry on top of all that, but I would say getting that Zap set up and moving over your client stuff to Frame, and like instead of so Zap, the Zap, migrating to Frame, and also creating those trainings for the social media manager and the editors that you think absolutely needs to be addressed, and then using that as like a constant refinement process. Anytime you have an issue and you correct it,